And here we go.
Hey guys, welcome to Lost episode 3 of CMD Tower's Brews and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5, and my fellow host has met a bit that both of us will have shared animosity by the end, BigTuck.
Yes, Mr. Combo-san, as our friends to the Far East would say, Oi yago mazu.
What is it?
Oh hey
What's that
go
translate to?
samu, which is hello, good morning. I thought it was gonna be something konnichiwa and then a space, but it turns out Japanese literature and alcohol has won again.
Welcome, collective, to another great episode of Brews and Builds. And this episode could not have been done except by our amazing patrons. Whether you're part of the collective, Squeeze Choir, BigTucks, Mr. Combo, Storm Count, it doesn't matter. We love you guys and thank you for the support. Well, guys, if you haven't heard, we do have an amazing patron community. You should definitely head over and join cmdtower.com/Patreon. We do have many different tiers. For $15 a month, you can actually join the BigTucks Brew Buddies, get a ton of soft value, but also get CMD Tower swag. And then whenever we come out with new drops, if it aligns up with your tier, you'll also get it for free, just automatically being a part of it. But even just $1 a month helps the community. So go out there and join. But a big thing is if you're an existing patron, go do the referral program. Any of your friends, frenemy, or collective that you want to get to join, have them message us on Patreon, and we'll send you something free for just being great. Now, we do have great swag, merch, foily things. So head over to cmdtower.com/merch. You can pick up our amazing Jund holiday sweater. You can look at our amazing foil playmat from Brews and Builds. That's this really cool astrology, almost kind of has like a Theros feel to it. Definitely there are redacted bits that we can't talk about, but let's just say they have to do with hundreds and hundreds of sleeves. So please help the children.
I am begging you.
Now, we have started a new partnership. As you've probably heard, and even this episode's based around it, I've done playtest cards. Sometimes I do custom ones that are Game of Thrones themed. Sometimes I've done ones like today, which we'll get into in a bit. And where do I go to get these great cards? Or even if, like Tuck was just complaining about, if you own a single Ragavan copy, you can head over to abyssproxyshop.com and use the code CMD Tower to get 10% off your order. Plus, it's stackable. So I know if you spend over $30 on the website, you'll get 20% off your order. And then on top of that, using that code does help get a little bit of revenue into CMD Tower. So if you're going to go buy playtest cards or proxies, as a lot of people call them, go to abyssproxyshop.com and use CMD Tower to help us out.
I can confirm that they have not one, but two options for the Ragavan proxy. One of them with Abu from Aladdin. And then another one, I believe, is some sort of anime, but I can't watch that stuff because it gives me nightmares.
And of course, these YouTube videos are brought to you by T-Codes. He's our amazing video engineer at _T-Codes on Twitter. Be sure to hit up Tyler. Let him know what you like about the videos, what you want to see improved, because we really can't do anything without your guys' feedback. So let us know what you want to see, especially now that all of our content's going on YouTube and you're seeing our very questionable faces.
Ugh.
Ooh. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, the 12 themes of EDH decks, we have moved on to a classic brew of day one Brews and Builds with a traditional episode. And we describe brewing of decks similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. We call that grains.
And grain, or subu, are the foundations of any beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts using a 60-40 ratio. That's up to the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp into bigger threats. And just like a grand profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
So without further ado, let's get brewing. Today, we are on Lost episode 3. It seems to be a trend, Tuck, when we do these Lost episodes. My decks are always proxy decks. The first ones was my Game of Thrones deck. Now we have Najeela campaigning across Japan. So the first card I want to talk about is a very interesting warrior. He likes to rush into battle, and his name is Rasubede Dokarmanda, which is Rushblade Commander.
Okay. Very good.
So, if you guys can't tell, that's the bit, because all of the cards technically are the title is in Japanese, so we're reading them, and hopefully no one gets offended. But Rushblade Commander, this is for Rakdos, so that's going to be black, red. It's a 2/2 for a quarter. Creature, Azra Warrior. Were you ever to see Azra again? Question mark.
Who knows?
Warriors, your team control. So if I did 2 at a giant, I guess that would count too. Have haste. So this is massive for a Najeela deck because Najeela's whole bit is that she ends up building this incremental value so fast that you just can't deal with it. So getting Rushblade down turn 2, Najeela down
Yep.
turn 3, swinging. Now I got 4 warriors at the end of my third turn. I'm probably going to win because then next turn I'm going to have 8, then 16, and it just goes off.
Without even worrying about the extra combat rigmaroles that you go through. I feel like that card is you have to have it in a Najeela deck or Warriors deck, right? There's just certain ones that are just insanely good. To your point about the Azra, one of these are now, because Wizards has no foresight, these are now just Typhlings, right? This is Prosper.
Oh, huh.
But it's
All
stupid.
right.
It's like the Naga work here and snakes, right? They print them arbitrarily so that neither of them can work with each other. Great
That's
card.
very true.
Great card on curve. If you get this turn 2, Najeela turn 3, it's like backbreaking without anything else, right? 3 lands, this card, Najeela, the game is cruising for you.
Yeah, I would argue if you get this down turn 2, your opponents will hold up removal for Najeela, a counter spell
100%.
or a targeted removal for Rushblade. That if your opponents don't and you get to do that attack, like I said, and end your turn with 4 warriors because you'll get 2 tokens out of it, your win likelihood goes to like 90%.
100%. 100%.
All right, Tuck. Well, what's your first grade?
So this one is also a warrior, but this one's an elf. And as they call it, they would say Garandu Oridorada, which is our old pal, Grand Warlord Rada. So what a beating. 2 colorless, and that's Gruul. That's a red and a green for 3/4 legendary creature elf warrior. That's a rare for 63 cents. She has haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, add that much mana in any combination of red and or green. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. What a beating. This card, I think, who is it? Dapper Dan runs this card as a commander.
Yes, he does.
It's brutal, right? So I think what's interesting when you look at cards like Grand Warlord Rada is this card works by herself, but the fact that she's also a warrior makes her like it's like the cherry on top, right? Like this would be a great card inclusion no matter what, but just because she arbitrarily has this bizarre subtype to her makes her even better in this deck comparative to any other deck she's going to go into.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, the goal of a Najeela deck is to swing with as many warriors as possible.
Correct.
So it's like you do that, and then Grand Warlord Radha wants you to swing with as many creatures as possible. So it's like Najeela's making all this stuff, and for however many warriors she just made, you're getting that much mana to your mana pool that you could then use in that combat. Maybe, you already have your white, black, and blue. So now I get my extra combat, and then we can just kind of do this rigmarole. It's absolutely disgusting. But I hope you're proud of me. I don't have like aggravated assault and things like that in here.
Yes, I am proud. Well, I mean, you have plenty of other ways. You have plenty of other ways to do that without 1 or 2 cards here and there. But the fact that you don't put the easy inclusion, I am proud of you.
There we go. Well, my next card is a way for me to draw cards. The unfortunate thing is that it's not a May effect, and so very easily this card could kill me. So we are talking about Mindubare Dorienda, which is Mindblade Render. So,
sure, yeah.
We're talking colorless black creature, Azra Warrior, again, Battle Bond, baby.
Why not?
1/3. Whenever your opponents are dealt combat damage, if any of that damage was dealt by a warrior, you draw a card and lose a life. Which means if anyone else has Warriors or a Mask of Nexus or
Yeah.
anything, I'm drawing cards off of that, but also possibly dying. But because I am so anti single burst draw, this is great for my playstyle.
It is hysterical that you could kill yourself with this, and I think there's probably times where you have to be smart about playing this, right? You play this early, it doesn't remove it. People are like, yeah, sure, I'll take 20 damage. My life total doesn't matter. You're gonna kill yourself because we've been chip damaging you away. I think like and Battle Bond pushed Warrior so much is where Najeela got printed originally, if memory serves. That
Uh-huh.
there's this like there's such similar in scope to Rushblade Commander. They're just cards that you have to have, right? I
Yeah.
also think that if you're playing, I think this card in and of itself could be good in the right deck, just that it can deal damage, it can draw you a card itself, right? Where so it's not burst, it's over time. But again, in this deck, just completely bonkers. I hope that someday this backfires, just so that we have that story to talk
Oh,
about.
absolutely. And I guess the last thing I'll mention, because usually some of these like damage to draw card, it's like that creature has to attack as well or deal it as well. I mean, you could just play Mindblade Render, and if you had your Rushblade Commander out there, swing with him, you get to now draw a card. It's not like you
Exactly.
have to wait a turn cycle. So there's literally no downside other than you may die.
Always something to think in mind.
Well, Tuck, give us your second grain.
Okay, so this is one of the artifacts in here and one of the slower
Mm.
ones, but I want to bring this up because we've talked about this in the past. This to me, the real name of this should be uh Gilded Lotus Killer, but in reality, it's Sakuribu no Ibitsu, which
Skyclave
is
Relic?
Skyclave Relic. Yes.
Ah, there we
Wait, is that
go.
yours?
Nope, nope, nope.
Oh,
I just guessed it based off
okay.
of your
Yes.
translation.
Yes. So Skyclave Relic is a real banger. 3 colorless for an artifact. It's not legendary. It's a rare for around $2 with kicker 3. So it's indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 2 tapped tokens that are copies of Skyclave Relic. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Squee McGee, I hope you're rolling in your grave. This is unquestionably the better manolith.
Manolith, yeah. There's no
There's no
argument
argument,
now.
right? Like it
Yeah.
cannot be beat. I think that this
I
is
mean, this. Sorry, Tuck, to interrupt you. This even eliminates Darksteel
ingot.
ingot.
Yes,
That's
100%.
gone now.
Yeah, no questions asked. Outside of the price point, which is arbitrary for $2.
Yeah.
But like Gilded Lotus, $5 for no reason, right? This so you can trade 1 Gilded Lotus for this, and you just get an immediate upgrade. So in a pinch, you pay it for 3. You're on curve. There's no downside there. Late game, you make a bunch of tokens. That might get you the mana fixing that you need for like the Grand Warlord Rana that we were talking about, right? Like it's such utility. The more and more if I play this game, to me, this is like a borderline auto inclusion in 3 CMC or higher decks, or 3 colors or more decks.
So here's I love the card. Obviously, it's in the deck. I actually talked about this card during preview season. It was one of my
Yes.
favorites. But here's the thing: it's not just a strictly upgrade over Gilded Lotus. That's just wrong because you got to pay 6 to only get 1 mana access that turn. Gilded, you pay 5 to immediately get 3. So Gilded is better from that perspective. Gilded just doesn't have the indestructible. That's the only negative
But
it does.
but
It has.
Gilded also only is 1 mana of 1 color. You tap it for 3 black.
Sure, sure. But I think it's just one of those. That's when we start getting the argument of efficiency versus flexibility, and like, what does that look
Sure,
like?
yeah.
But this is an auto include. I would argue it's your 3 color and above, but also your Boros and your Azorius
Yes.
decks,
Yep.
probably even your Rakdos.
Right.
Skyclave Relic's just great, and for $2, I wouldn't be shocked, Tuck, if we're doing this cast in 3 years, Skyclave Relic comes up, and it's like, when did this become $9?
Yep. 100% agree, right? Like this was like 50 cents a year ago, and people have started figuring
Mhm.
out scoop them up.
All right, well, my last one is going to be a challenge. So this legendary creature doesn't actually have warrior in his type. So you might wonder why Homeboy, or I think people said this looks like Seth, thought that'd be great in here. So it looks like we're gonna 3, 2, 1. Aisu Inderendo no Urufoga.
Oh, Wait, what? No, this doesn't look like Seth at all. What are you talking about? You're crazy.
What are you talking about? Wolfgar of Icewind Dale?
Wolfgar of Icewind Dale. Yes, no. He looks like Hans Eriksson.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute.
I'm sorry. How about this? This looks like a trimmed down Seth.
Yes. Okay, I'll take that. Sorry, I was like ready. I had the shaker. I was good to go. I even had it pulled up in Google Translate. And then you're like, I think this is what Seth looks like. I was like, wait, that's in this deck?
There we go. We're here for it.
I will read the text body.
All right. It's 3 colorless. It's Gruul, so that's a red and a green. Legendary creature, human barbarian, rare, and it's a 4/4.
And it has melee. He has melee. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each opponent you've attacked this combat. If a creature you control attacking would cause a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time.
Well, Tuck, what does that do with Najeela?
It just makes a boatload more warriors. Why does okay. I remember when this card got previewed, people were like upset. Because like this doesn't do anything, right? It's the same thing like with Drizzt Do'Urden, these sort of things that you read, or Minsk, where like, oh, these are characters that I grew up with and I was reading, right? This card sucks. It doesn't pair with the hammer, it does nothing. Wolfgar is insane.
He's great.
It's so strong. He's immediately a 6, at worst, he's a 6/6 for 5, right? Because his ability tracks himself. And then anything else that you have these sort of things we've talked about, right? With your Mind Blade render, all these different, well, maybe that's a bad example, but like there's so many other things that people don't think about of when this thing attacks. He's bonkers. He's absolutely bonkers.
I totally didn't even put it in my head that he gets his melee ability twice.
I didn't either.
So dumb.
I didn't either till I got pounded for 8 last time I saw him on Sunday.
Guys, your dragon decks, your 5-color dragons, Wolfgar in there. I mean, as long as you have Gruul, I think if you have any type of combat trigger deck, you just put him in, regardless if he fits the creature type or your general theme. He is your doubling season for whatever your combat trigger is, and it's amazing.
100%. And like if this was an enchantment that cost 2 in Gruul, you would see this everywhere, right? Even if it was a creature, the fact that he can even punch himself, it's his bonkers for $1. Right? It's just there's just so much value out of this. It's wild.
Now, I will say this, unlike Skyclave Relic, this card will forever be a bulk rare.
Yes.
Because of the 5 CMC.
Yep.
So
completely agree with that.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the grain section.